Before we get started today, let's talk about this. Remember this? I told you I would tell you all about it a couple videos back, and then yesterday's epic, or the last video's epic, let's just say, we totally forgot about this. Who makes this? All I could see is S&W Co. USA. Trenchhold? No, it's Stronghold. PSNW, not Smith & Wesson, but Peck, somebody, and Wilcox. I think it's Stowe or Stock, or anyway, I think it's Peck, Stowe, and Wilcox Company, USA. Later became Pexto. This wrench here was first patented and made in 1896, and they changed their name from PS&W to Pexto in 1914. So this is, we can guess that this wrench, this tool here, is somewhere between 1896 and 1914. Okay, that at least puts a general date. We don't. And it's so hard to tell. The rust really took out this writing here, or the stamping rather, and it's sort of off. Like, it just looks off. And then I didn't do much better by grinding on there, but at least we got an idea. We know what this is, and so in a future video, when we get to this, have our fun with this, we'll yeah, we will. Yeah, you know. Okay, the next thing. The moment you've all been waiting for. How did the Evaporust do on the Crescents? Oh man, we have got some serious flotation stuff going on in here, but that's okay, because we're gonna have to filter this. Yeah, it's still clear. Smells like Evaporust. It hasn't gotten stanky yet, so we don't want it to, because that means we have to get more Evaporust. Although I think I've still got a little bit in the jug. Let's take these guys out first. Now see here, I wonder, I think that these are just black. Now we'll find out. I think a lot. I say things with certainty. Ooh. And then we find out that, well, none of it's true. Or very little of what I say I'm certain of. But see how the pins are shiny? Oh, no, wait. As it dries here, we're getting that bare metal color. Okay. Crescent brand. What's a better thing to say than okay? All right. So I just said right. Oh man. Don't mind me if I start attempting to do dialects from around the world. It's a nasty habit of mine. Yeah, anyway. Anyhow. Something's beeping at me. I hope it's not the camera. It's probably my circuit tester in the background. Okay. Would be my guess. Yeah. Yeah, I think this had some kind of heat treatment or something. You know what I haven't done? What I haven't done, and this is just me confessing to you, I haven't looked at a reference of these pliers. I have no idea what they actually look like. So if we're, we could be missing something, or, you know, oh, they have been heat treated and that's why they're black, or they're, you know, I don't know. I want them to be shiny, personally. So that's what we're going to do eventually here. We got to clean these jaws out. Ooh. We got some stuff there. Oh, look at that. It all just disintegrates as I say it. Let me take this little baby screwdriver here and just kind of, what is that, paint or possibly plaster? Who knows? Who knows? I tell you, man, the last couple days at work, I actually have to work. It's amazing how that feels when you actually have to do your job. It's real. It can be sometimes a novelty, but also quite burdensome. The novelty of actually doing the thing that they pay you frequently to do. That's not to say I'm lazy or anything like that. It's just, no, you know, sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes everything goes wrong all at once. I wish I could have got this apart. And what it's going to take to get it apart is grinding this off. And I don't want to do that, as I've said. Okay. All right. Indeed. Let's just set that there for now. Let's look at the Crescent. Wait a second. We're looking at the Crescent. What I mean to say, what I meant was, let's look at the adjustable wrench. I don't know, how old was I when I figured out that Crescent wrenches was actually a brand name, sort of like Band-Aids or Q-tips, that kind of thing. You know, you say the name of the brand so much that it becomes associated with the product or the tool or whatever you're using. Channel locks is another. Hey, can you pass the channel locks? Well, it might be a Wright brand or Williams brand of pair of water pump pliers or tongue and groove pliers. You know, give me the channel locks. Everybody knows what you're talking about. Very interesting. Okay, and you'll hear electricians say, "Hey, give me the Kleins." They mean the linesman pliers. There you go. What do you think about that? So, ooh, the gears are spinning. You know, the motor's running. There's nobody behind the wheel. Hence all the Well, that one came off. Oof. Isn't that interesting? Okay, I felt it a little loose. Well, this other one just come off like that. There's a lot pouring out of it, though. Here they come. Okay, okay. I don't know if you can see this. All right. Yes, sir. So these are going to go back in the drink overnight. That's it. I can't. We can't have this because this occurred. I have to put them in overnight. So we're going to think on these. Okay. I know that's exciting for everybody to think on things. We'll know which goes where because we're videoing this whole thing, and also one has the notch, and you know, where's the notch go? Okay. At least they don't both look the same. Wow. Okay. All right. 10-4. 10-4 doesn't really work there, but hey. Copy that. All right. Okay. Remember Andy Kaufman? Anybody out there a fan of Andy Kaufman? He would do a bit where he was like a children's show host, or he was doing music for children or something, and he'd say, "Oh, when I say okay, you say okay." And instead of a drinking game where every time I say okay, you take a drink or something like that, that would probably end your life. Instead of that, when I say okay, you say okay. Okay? That's good. Thank you. Okay. All right. That's enough. What other dead comedians can we talk about? Okay. I promise you that it's subconscious. I'm not purposely doing it. It's something about when the camera turns on, I become unnatural. Start to talk like this. Check out this Crescent wrench. Why, this adjustable Crescent brand, made in Jamestown, New York. Oh, man. This is going to the wire wheel. Look at that scum. What I've noticed is the more rust the tool has, the more of this film you get after you put it in the evaporust. It's fascinating to me how it is. But we have got this thing completely degreased and completely free of rust. But you can see here what the rust has done to it. Man, it's dingy. It is a dingy, old looking tool. It's got this one spot here that's like that's probably somebody was wrenching too hard on something and chipped it or dropped it or what have you. And we'll give it the old Dremel treatment. Maybe even a belt sander. I can't promise you anything. I used to have a handheld belt sander, and I was trying to repair it. This was some time ago. I made an attempt to repair it. It got so full of sawdust or something. It was old. It was a Craftsman. I think I got it when I worked at Sears. That's when I bought it. You know, it was on sale, and I got the employee discount, etc. You know, excuses. And I have to buy something. And anyway, I was taking it apart, and the spring, there was a spring in it that just went flying. You know, the bane of my existence. Small springs, small parts that just go flying when I very carefully was taking this apart. But I was in the field. This was when I was working in residential construction, let's say. Let's just call it that. And there it went, just flying, never to be found again. And then I had another belt sander after that, a stopgap, if you will. I think someone, hey, you can have this old belt sander of mine, and the motor crapped out on that, and that's a mystery what happened to that one. Oh, I know what happened. So that spring, I'm like making stuff up here at the moment. I'm trying to make sense of things I can't remember. So, yeah, I think I got another one. Someone gave me one. No. I'll tell you what happened. So I had that old Craftsman belt sander, and I got it working. I cleaned it out, but it was missing this spring. And so when I was sand, the belt would start to go this way. It would just sort of glide over here, kind of like this. And it was doing this kind of pattern, and eventually the motor crapped out on it. It's all coming clear to me now. Okay. Very important stuff. and we've got to get right. You know, what happened to the belt sander nobody knows about. Anyway, all right, here we are. Crescent wrench. Crescent adjustable wrench. It's got 4 parts. Okay, we've got the adjustable jaw, we've got this little gear, and we've got our pin that keeps it all held together, held tight. What are we going to do with it? What are we going to do with it? Well, we're going to come up with some alliteration for the title of this video, that's for sure. I've really put myself in a corner with that. No, we're going to take it to JCPenney bench grinder. Yes, sir. We're going to do that. And why? Why not? It was $15, or it had a $15 price tag on it. I'm going to tell you a little secret. I don't pay full price at Habitat for Humanity, even if it's a full price sticker. I'll just leave it at that. There's reasons. Many reasons. Okay. Now I'm going to do this in a very strange sort of way. I noticed I was getting some good angles because I would stick my face right in the deal here. So what I'm going to do here, I want you guys to get some good angles. I think that's important. I mean, if you're looking at a bench grinder that's sort of enclosed like this, you're not really getting much. So I'm actually going to take this camera from off of my head. We're going on an adventure now. And I'm going to hold it. Oh, this is bad. I'm going to hold it here in my left hand. And in my right, oh yes, in my right, we're going to hold the pieces here. Stuff might go flying. Let's find out. So, I will say this about GoPros, is they don't, or at least this model that I have, most cameras have a little socket, a nut, if you will, that you can put onto a tripod. I've got 2 tripods sitting back here, but not this GoPro. I'm gonna have to get some other attachment for it, I suppose. So let's look at what I did here. I didn't get this area here because we're gonna wire brush that. We'll wire brush the inner. I just got this outside, give it that nice first polish. Now, when we sand this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay the sandpaper down onto the table. Okay, we're gonna lay the sandpaper here. We're not gonna worry about this area because we'll get to that later. What we'll do is we'll lay the sandpaper down onto the bench and use the tool. We'll do it like this. Then we'll get the next grit up and go sideways, up, and so forth, until just this area here, this crescent area, becomes completely smooth and shiny. We're gonna have some issues with this pit right here. If you can see that, where's the lens? Right here. If you can get into that, that's gonna be its own issue. That's what got me talking about a belt sander earlier, right? That's the other thing you could do. I was out recently. I had 5 days off due to they're shutting stuff down again. So what's my progeny gonna do? He's gonna have to hang out with me, right? So I took the young lad to the woodworker store to look at large tools, and one of the large tools I was looking at was a belt sander, and and when I say belt sander, I mean a large table belt sander, and a freestanding rather, with the big pulleys and all that. The least expensive one they had was about $280, let's say. That's just off the top of my head, remembering. Now, I said, okay, that sounds great. It's made in the land of China, which doesn't bother me because it's just a tool, something I can bring back here and make these videos maybe a little more exciting. Grinding on here, right? And that's actually a pretty good price for something like that. Okay, that's within my, I'd have to save up for a little bit, let's just say that. Anyway, I know the wife watches these. Yeah, I can't afford that. No, I can't afford anything. Anyway, I was at a tool store the other day, yesterday, and saw they had an older Makita belt sander, portable, made in Japan. I don't see those at many of the big box stores. I think it's an older model, and it was, I think, $300. So I go, that's something to weigh out. What am I going to get? But for now, we're going to hand sand. Are we going to hand sand today? Oh, you bet your bottom dollar. Absolutely not. We are not going to do that today. Did you just meet me? All right. How'd this rasp do? Let's move on to the rasp. Let's just take a look here. It might need another day. I think I'm going to continue soaking this rasp along with the, before I put it back in the drink. I have a little brush. I had a little brush somewhere around here. Yeah, I don't want to use that brush. I had a little broken brush that I was using yesterday for some. There it is. Okay. Clean my table up a little bit, and suddenly I can't find anything. Okay. You guys see any more paint? A little bit of wood still on here. That's not good. Yeah, we're gonna have to filter this. I've got all my simple green filtered. Did that today. Okay, back in there you go. You're gonna do another day in there. We're going to get back to those tomorrow, or you know, when we think about it. Okay. Okay. If you're playing along, if you're listening, if the how long did it take me to sand that, or to use the bench? How long was I wire wheeling this thing? I don't know. Sometime, probably 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, something like that. There we go. That's the ticket right there. Let's do the before. Okay. I really hope it's in frame. And there's the after. Okay, just a few strokes with the wire brush really does the trick. And that's the thing, I could have just wire brushed this whole thing to begin with, but I felt like the grinder, I wasn't getting a lot of love. I was kind of talking crap about it. And you know what? It's a fine grinder. It's a stopgap. I had another bench grinder that I used until the motor blew. And I was like, oh, I'll just replace the motor. And which I did do. And then other parts of it blew. So I got a motor that was bigger. I said, oh, I'm gonna have an even better grinder. Well, that was a mistake. Have I learned my lesson though? Do I have a magnetic bowl on the on the bench? Nope. Have I just been running like a chicken? Seeing a Frank Sinatra chicken out at the farm? You bet. I've been running. Talk about dead comedians. I love the old Looney Tunes cartoons as opposed to the new Looney Tunes cartoons, as opposed to the new ones, you know, all those new ones they make. Look at this thing. Okay, again, when we talk about striving nothing less than perfection, when we talk about, you know, the stages of this whole process, you know, this is good. This looks, you know, 100 times better than it did. You could put this back together and go out and go wrench on stuff all day, every day. You'd be fine. And people would say, well, that's a nice wrench you got there. You know, oftentimes when you're working a job or what have you, and somebody sees your tool, starts admiring your wrench, well, bucko, you got one right here that's gonna do you well. I mean, 8 inches is nothing to scoff at. Let's remember that, friends. Oh, I'm listening. I'm hearing y'all. You goofballs. What do you think? Should I hit the brush right there? I should. I can't just leave you this like this. I gave you an hour yesterday, and that's how I had to cut it down. I could have had you could have had a full 90 minutes, but I couldn't do that to you guys. I'll give you an hour. I try to give you only a half hour each time. But when we're getting into this tooling, when we're getting into this grinding and the sanding, I think these are going to run a little longer. When it's just me talking about, check out this cool thing I got, well, you know, I can only do that for so long. All right, so what's next? We've got 2 tools right now that we need to figure out what's going on with them. What are we doing? Are we going to just leave them like this? I don't think so. I don't think that's the plan. We got to get to polishing. We got to start the polishing process. And so right now, what have we got? We've got those water pump pliers just waiting. I have to do some more research on those. I don't know what to do with those right now, off the top of my head. I'll be driving home tonight after I turn this camera off. I'll go, oh, of course, what I'll do, and of course, which I will then forget immediately when I get back and turn this camera on. So let's stick with our 18 rigid. All right, this 14-inch, I've got a working 14-inch in the field right now, brand new. So I'm not as concerned about this one, and it's in really good shape. Like I've said a dozen times probably. I mean, the knurling on this is just great. This is pretty smooth. This is really all it needs to be polished. I mean, I could take this out right now. Be good to go. People, that's a brand new rigid, basically. There's not really a lot of problems with this, other than right here, which I know you're in it for the sound effects and that the pleasing, chakra aligning sound effects that we get. But just this area, after yesterday's fiasco with the Dremel, it wasn't too bad, but I'm not as happy. This was much more dinged up than this. As you can see, it's smooth, but I'm worried about the paint. Well, I don't want to say I'm worried. I think it's going to look just fine once I paint it. We're going to use self-etching primer and just coat after coat after coat of the rigid red, because I do not have the capabilities at this location to do powder coating, which is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to powder coat these, just like you. I could take it to an auto body shop and see how much they'd charge me to paint it. Probably, again, we can't afford that. We can't afford it. So I can't afford anything. Look, we're going to set this aside. Okay, why am I setting this aside? No, this guy. This is our guy right here. So starting tomorrow, let's say, I'm going to get to polishing to get the real polish on these areas that I want polished. The rest of it, I might want to hit with a small wire brush, maybe on my grinder. Not that, on my grinding, my handheld grinder. I might want it has a very high RPM and a very rough wire wheel that I use for grinding paint off of concrete and that sort of thing. And brick and that sort of deal. Very rough wheel just to get in here. And maybe, because this got too smooth, and then we got a couple, the Dremel, I angled it wrong and it took a little chowder out of here. I don't like that. So I'll hit that with the stronger wire wheel, more abrasive wheel, and see if that'll smooth it out, or at least blend it. Now we're getting into blending right here, sort of like what we did when we created this line with the Dremel end mill piece, which I didn't do here. I didn't define the line here. I left it as it is because it wasn't chowdered up. It was up here though, as we recall. So anyway, that's what's got to be done here. But as far as that, we'll get these areas polished, get that all polished up. While we're polishing, we'll have all that sandpaper out, so might as well polish this, which we're going to get the real high finish on just this area here. Once we get past this line, then it's just going to be hand sanding. But I'm saying I can really get in there and just go to town. Same as here. We'll sand it like so, and even like so. It'll get real wild. You'll see what I'm talking about tomorrow or the next day, whenever I have the energy to do such a thing. But yeah, the rest of this no one sees, so not as important to shine out. Maybe just on the end here, and I might grind this down because it's got, I don't know how that happened. But yeah, so let's focus on these two tools. This one's great because these Crescents are real easy to do, and they get, when they're brand new, they're super shiny. And so they go back to the way they were originally. If you were to polish something like this would be, weeks of work to get that same effect. As you can see, it's kind of happening here. Well, I don't want that. I only want it here and on the jaw. And the jaw is pretty pitty. So that's going to be its own fun. But like I said, we can just sand it like that. Okay. Same as this one. All I've got to do is sand it like this. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of excitement. We'll get a full sheet of sandpaper on here and just go to town. Does that sound like fun? Does that sound like an enjoyable time to be had by all? I know I'm looking forward to it. I know my elbows and my shoulders and my forearms are just aching already. And this is what it's all about. We've been leading up to this point. Maybe I've been putting it off. Maybe I've been, you know, maybe I talk too much. Maybe I don't talk enough. Look, I don't want to have an existential crisis here on the video with you all, but telling you that I love you and I'm glad you're watching, and we're going on a journey together. The journey, the real life journey of restoring hand tools, which isn't all fun and games. Actually, it is. This is actually quite fun. This is one of my favorite hobbies. And maybe in the next video I'll tell you about a new hobby of mine. A man's got to have hobbies, and mankind, human beings have got to have hobbies. So, you know, pick this one up. Why not? It's not going to cost you much, and it's rewarding. That's what it's all about. Before I ramble on into a stroke or seizure or something, I will leave you be, and we will see you again on the other side.